fans of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman have been campaigning for the last few weeks for the Zack Snyder cut of the film, since it is obvious when we watch the film, Joss Whedon reshot a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
So, before we get into this, because I just want to know your opinion before I start saying some stuff. We've had kind of the Blu-ray picture, and it doesn't show an extended cut like how Batman vs. Superman did. So, do you think, before we get into some logical stuff, do you think that there should be a Zack Snyder cut released?
I don't know if it would be a complete movie, but they said that there is one though, right? It seems weird. How is there a complete movie?
Never mind. Well, I'll say some of the stuff first. There are a few problems with releasing the Justice League Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah.
Reason number one, there is no Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah.
So, remember, Snyder left the project before post-production started. However, Snyder did show a rough cut to Warner Bros. Execs, but that would have been everything just kind of put together without the effects. And they could release Snyder's rough cut, but I don't think Snyder would want that. And kind of proof is that there was an interview that Zack Snyder did where he talked about there are 3 versions of Watchmen you can buy. And which one you prefer, the theatrical, director's, or ultimate cut, which the ultimate cut added animated elements into the movie, and Snyder said he preferred the director's cut because he didn't feel that the animated things didn't really fit that well because it wasn't that designed. And another thing to wonder is if WB wanted to release a Snyder cut, would Zack even want to come back? Because even from the beginning, after Batman vs. Superman's negative reaction, WB wanted Snyder to change his style, and we all know they didn't want him to come back, but they were too far into production. And then, obviously, Snyder had to leave, so he had to leave the film. And even once it was done, Zack didn't do any press for the film, and I'm assuming he kind of wants to be done with the film. And I don't think Zack would want to come back to finish the film. And if he did, I don't think it would be for a number of years. So if Warner Bros. Wants to release a Snyder cut, it would have to be the rough cut. Another thing to think about is that Justice League is a box office failure. So they lost money on those films. And after they watched... Another thing to think about is after they watched what Snyder had filmed, they felt they had to reshoot so much of the film, making it their most expensive movie ever made. And one of people's biggest problems with the film was Steppenwolf being an all-CGI villain. And that was a Zack Snyder decision. So, right. Snyder left before post could be done for the special effects. And WB is not going to want to put more money into a movie that failed. So, they would have to release the film unfinished or cut in some of Joss Whedon's finished effects. Kind of like the Superman Richard Donner cut had to put in some of the Richard Lester version. And so, yeah. Hearing all that stuff, it was a lot. It was more than what I remembered. So, what do you think about for people who are dying to have a Zack Snyder cut, what do you think should happen?
It's more just that I don't think anything can happen because, it's not how movie making works. It's just the final product they made is the movie that both Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon had a hand in. Zack Snyder probably didn't make a complete movie. That's my thought is you could piece stuff together.
Well, he did film. He finished filming, but the effects aren't done, and he didn't edit out. He didn't put together Batman vs. Superman is what he wanted in theaters. He never finished his edit.
Okay. You mean Justice League?
Yeah.
You said Batman vs. Superman.
Well,
so I was confused.
Batman vs. The Ultimate Cut is what he wanted in theaters.
Oh, okay.
He never did make his Justice League cut. He made a rough cut of everything. But he never edited anything together or edited anything out or did any special effects.
Okay. So
all you have is the Zack Snyder rough cut.
All right.
Well, first, here's another thing to ask. probably the first thing to ask is, do you think Zack Snyder would want to come back to finish the movie?
I'm feeling like maybe not. I mean, it's just, it doesn't seem like, I don't know. I don't even know. Do you think? Yeah, my reaction would be that he wouldn't want to. Is that what you're thinking?
The movie was. They specifically kept telling him they didn't want his style for the movie, and I just don't think he'd want to come back.
Yeah, and
I think maybe in like 10 years or something he'd want to come back, but not in like before the home video release. So
yeah, and I on one hand I do think that more time and thought put into the editing could make it a lot better and a lot of my nitpicks go away. But at the same time, I'm also of the feeling that a lot of the Joss Whedon editions probably made it a lot better to me as well. So it's kind of like I don't know where that lands if I saw a Zack Snyder cut of the film.
I feel like if we were to get a Zack Snyder cut released, it would be just a rough cut with everything put in. Maybe I feel like if people want the Zack Snyder cut that much, they'll probably just put everything in there.
Yeah.
And they're not going to put more money in, so they would edit out. They would take out the unfinished special effects scenes and put in the Joss Whedon special effects scenes. So, do you think they should release that?
I think people who want that are maybe a little too hopeful that would be good. I don't have faith that would be. I don't have faith that would make it better. I don't know.
I'll be honest, because we're not going to get Justice League movie for a while, I kind of would like to see something, but you're never going to. There isn't a Zack Snyder cut that exists that Warner Bros. Can just put out.
Yeah.
So someone would have to edit it, and it's a little bit like, if fans find out you edited things out, and because Zack probably wouldn't be in the editing room with them, people would probably get mad. So you'd have like this probably 3.5 hour rough cut with Joss Whedon scenes put in. So
that's the only way. It doesn't seem like a feasible thing to me. I don't know.
I think I'd like to see it just because I'm curious.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Snyder's done with DC. I don't think he wants to go back just because of he got a lot of hate after Batman vs. Superman, and Warner Brothers didn't want him to do Justice League in his style. So yeah, I don't think we'll get a Zack Snyder cut as much as I would like one, kind of, even though the special effects wouldn't be finished. Yeah. You'd have to cut in the Joss Whedon scenes. I'll say this: there won't be a Zack Snyder cut in time for the Blu-ray. I think the closest the time you'll have a Zack Snyder cut of Justice League will be after the DC Cinematic Universe is back on track.
Yeah. Because
I feel like, here's the thing to think about, and it's time to be honest, Zack Snyder is one of the reasons why DC is in the position that they are right now.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like putting out a Zack Snyder cut would only make things worse a little bit. So, yeah. So I don't think it will happen. I think maybe it will happen. I think I'll do that. Eventually, we'll see the stuff Zack Snyder filmed. Would you want? Maybe they could just release it as deleted scenes.
Then maybe one of those sort of extremely dedicated fans of the
can edit it for us,
who do things like re-edit. I know there's they re-edited the Hobbit trilogy to kind of get rid of all the completely unnecessary additions. I've seen stuff like that. So we get one of those people, edit, then a fan can edit all the deleted scenes.
Man, how if you put, I mean, maybe you could do like a whole disc just of deleted scenes. I mean, it'd probably be like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I would watch it. So, probably not. No, I don't think we'll have a Zack Snyder cut, and I kind of think like no matter what, the fans who want a Zack Snyder cut would not be happy because I don't think Zack's gonna want to go back to finish the film, and it's just like, well, then what do? You just have to put in the rough cut. And people don't want the Joss Whedon stuff, so it's, here's what we filmed, enjoy the green screen.
Yeah.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, now to go on to, we're almost done, guys. Oh, my throat. Now it's time for what's next.
All right.
Justice League.
Nothing. Next segment.
Oh, you don't know, you guys don't know how right he is. Justice League. Here's something to think about. A movie with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman made $94 million on its opening weekend. Thor Ragnarok. A movie with Thor and the Hulk made $122 million. Justice League. A group with the most famous superheroes of all time has made $652.8 million worldwide. The Avengers. A movie with a group of superheroes nobody had ever heard of made $1.5 billion.
It's kind of like that. Silly meme I see going around. Who would win? A team of crime-fighting superheroes from some of the most famous comic series of all time, or one Marvelly boy?
Yes.
And it turns out the Marvelly boy wins.
Yes. I mean, Justice League should have easily beaten Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, Justice League is the most famous ones. The Avengers, no one... I mean, look, they're big now, but remember, when it came out, no one really cared about the Avengers. It was just... people went to see it and loved it. And then... So, Alright, so Aquaman has already finished filming. Other DCU films announced. Get ready, kids, it's a long list.
A long list of cancellations.
Yes. Shazam, Wonder Woman 2, Cyborg, Green Lantern Corps, Batgirl, The Batman, Black Adam, Flashpoint, Gotham City Sirens, Justice League Dark, Nightwing, Suicide Squad 2, Birds of Prey, Deadshot, Deathstroke, Harley Quinn and Joker, Justice League 2, Lobo, and Man of Steel 2. Now,
whose idea was Man of Steel 2? I was just...
well... I'm assuming that they were going to try it. Well, I mean, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman was supposed to be Man of Steel 2, and then it changed, apparently.
Yeah.
But, is it even worth kind of pretending, kind of envisioning a fake scenario where they continue this universe, or should we just skip ahead?
There's no point.
Yes. So, what
would, like, I guess the interesting question is, which of these is even remotely possible?
Wonder Woman 2 is 50-50, and that's it.
Okay. What do you think's happening with Aquaman?
Well, Aquaman's already filmed, so it's coming out no matter what.
Okay.
And I think it's a little bit like, ugh, we have screwed up. Let's just put it out. I think it's going to have very cheap special effects.
Yeah.
So they'll just be like, well, it's a lot. I mean, I hate to say it, because I know how much you love James Wan.
He's going to get screwed over by lower...
Aquaman's kind of a lost cause.
Yeah.
So it'll come out, maybe it can make some money, but if people didn't see Justice League, they're not going to see Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the possible exception of Wonder Woman 2, all these are canceled. So I think we're in agreement. DC needs to reboot.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Like, so what do you say to people who say, no, keep going and just make better movies and redeem the series? What do you say? What do you say to that?
I definitely basically give a strong no to a lot of the. I mean, like, you basically gotta redo Superman. You kind of have to, And I would also say it would be smart to reboot Batman. I would say the only one.
I mean, they have no choice at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you recast, but still, you only have a few years.
I think basically everything that touched Justice League is a bit tarnished, and they'd have to reboot all of those as well. The only one is Wonder Woman that I think has potential to continue. And you think it's 50-50.
Yeah.
So, I think there's not much of a choice, because I mean, if the next thing is there's a perception problem here. One of the reasons why Wonder Woman 2 has a chance is because the perception of it being good is there. I mean, people liked the first one, so people want to see a second one, hoping it'll be good. I don't think anyone's really has much hope anymore for a lot of these others. So that makes me think you have to.
So a lot of people point out to other shows, like the X-Men franchise. They didn't reboot.
Yeah.
But yet, instead of starting with Man of Steel, they started with those first two X-Men movies, which got great reviews.
Yeah.
So there's some people.
They were built on sturdier ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was a horrible mistake to keep going with Man of Steel. After Man of Steel and say, let's keep going, guys.
Yeah.
So people are just can't you just redeem the series? Guys, that's what Justice League was supposed to do. That's what Suicide before it was supposed to do. That's what Batman vs. Superman before it was supposed to do. They have tried and tried and tried. And with the exception of Wonder Woman, they have kept getting worse box office. And the box office failure of this movie shows that no one cares. No one cares about these versions of the characters. And here's something to think of. Batman vs. Superman had a record-breaking opening weekend, showing that the audience was really excited about seeing these characters, but the films themselves are what have turned DC audiences off. So the movies keep making less and less money. And honestly, if you show Henry Cavill as Superman or Ben Affleck as Batman, even though I think Ben Affleck is a great Batman, people are going to be turned off because they associate... And that's the thing that sucks is... I think Brandon Routh was a good Superman. He was in a horrible Superman movie, but if you have him in a Superman movie again, you're reminding people of Superman Returns, which you don't want to do.
Yeah. What was your take? I'm remembering one of the biggest controversies around Justice League that we didn't talk about at all.
Oh,
what is your take on the Superman upper lip CGI? That was what everyone talked about as soon as it came out.
So, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever Superman was on screen, I kept saying to myself, "Don't look at his lip." So, I didn't look.
Yeah, it's all it takes.
I mean, honestly,
no.
When I watch a movie, maybe it's just me, I make eye contact.
Yeah, you gotta show dominance.
Yeah,
to the characters.
so I didn't pay attention to the mustache. I didn't really notice the mustache thing, but I will say this: you know how Pixar on the iTunes release or the Blu-ray release CGI bloopers?
Yeah.
I would love to see a CGI blooper reel of Superman's upper lip.
Yes.
That'd be awesome!
I'd love to. I want to see just without the CGI there. I want to see Superman. I want to see Superman with a mustache.
Yes.
But yeah, I was just... for sake of touching all points hotly debated about this movie.
So, I think some people look at Superman's upper lip kind of pointing that all his scenes were directed by Joss Whedon. Because he would have
it would have to be in reshoots.
So yeah,
which is interesting, and it's interesting there that we were saying that Superman was done in a lighter tone in this movie, and
like I've said many times, I think Snyder works better with Batman, but I think Batman plays more to his strengths as a director than Superman.
Yeah.
So DC only has two options at this point. And DC fans only have two options. So, and some people are just no, don't do it, don't reboot. But there's two options. You can either have rebooted DC films, or you can have no DC films. And personally, as a DC fan, I would like more DC films. And if they can, why not try to make them better?
Yeah.
So, I would love to live in a world where a Justice League movie and Avengers movie come out the same year. Both have great reviews, great box office, and there's like a real debate about which one is better. And most people, the general audience, struggles
Yeah.
figuring out which one they like more. So, I mean, there's no option here. Guys, remember, DC fans, this whole thing is like based around the Nolan trilogy, basically.
Yeah.
That was a reboot. So, Man of Steel was a reboot. Didn't work out the way they wanted to, but...
Yeah.
So, your Ben Affleck Batman was kind of a reboot. So, reboots have worked well before. So, and your whole franchise... Here's another thing to think about for those of you who, like... When you look at Batman and Superman, and Spider-Man too, every reboot has been more successful than the original version. I mean, no one remembers the original Superman, who was Kirk Allen. No one remembers the Batman serials, and no one remembers the live-action Amazing Spider-Man TV show. So, every reboot of these iconic characters has been more...
Yeah.
So, that's how you keep them going forever. So, otherwise we would have stopped in the 40s. So, I would just say we can talk about what we think DC should do for basically a pitch for what the DC universe should be, and then we'll kind of separately go into the movies and we'll wrap this episode up. So, I feel like DC needs to stay true to who the characters are. Don't let another director like Zack Snyder or Christopher Nolan do whatever they want to where it stops being the character. And remember, the director is not the draw to these movies. The character is. Let the director do their vision, but before hiring them, make sure that fits and makes sense for their character. So, if you had to say, like, pitch something to Warner Brothers about what you should do with the DC characters, what would it be?
I think you need to, like... Well, okay, you were making a point of how everything in Marvel is a Stan Lee idea, whereas in DC it's all different creators behind each one. I think that everything needs, like, they need to have the puppeteering going at multiple puppets almost, like, to put the strangest metaphor on it. Because, like, Zack Snyder did everything except for Wonder Woman.
And Suicide Squad.
Who did Suicide Squad?
David Ayer?
I just assumed it was Zack Snyder, too, even though it doesn't seem like him at all.
It would be real fast if he had to do both movies.
Yeah.
Coffee every day to his trailer.
So, like, I mean, get a director who fits Batman. The character's the most important thing. So get a director who fits... Probably can't be Zack Snyder again, despite the fact that it fits him. But get a character who could direct a Batman film, because you have some people choosing who care about the franchise. And then, if you want to direct a Superman, have someone direct a Superman film, get someone else. Like, get a different person who would be good at
something that hurt this universe so much was they had Snyder direct the three biggest movies of this universe, which were, you started with Man of Steel, technically. I mean, Batman Begins, kind of. But, I mean, set the style, but Man of Steel is considered the beginning of this universe. Then your big crossover was by Snyder again, and then kind of like the big thing you've been building up to, what was supposed to be the big payoff, was once again Snyder. So
yeah, and like you said, don't give them like total control. That is not something that usually ends well. Usually, they need. I agree with rebooting everything. I'd like to imagine a world where they keep Wonder Woman. and they can just pretend that it's part of, like, they can just pretend that this Wonder Woman iteration is part of this entire
Yeah.
They reboot everything except for that, and it's like, oh, that never happened. This Wonder Woman is part of this universe. That's my ideal world. So yeah, different directors, reboots, and also who are the writers behind them? Because was it similar across
David
the board?
Goyer wrote the script for Man of Steel, and he also did the Dark Knight trilogy. Well, he wrote the script for Batman Begins with Nolan, and then he came up with the story for the other two with Nolan. He came up with the outline. David Goyer and Chris Terrio did Batman vs. Superman. Let's see, I don't remember. David Ayer did Suicide Squad. I feel like, man, who did Wonder Woman? I know Zack Snyder did come up with the story for Wonder Woman with Jeff Johns or Patty Jenkins, but he didn't write the script. I think that is a good question. But Justice League was written by Chris Terrio, and because reshoots, Joss Whedon got writer's credit too.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think with a reboot they should they should be reevaluating everything, really, including, like, not just directors but writing as well. And
Okay, the screenplay for Wonder Woman is by Alan Heinberg, who I have never
classic.
heard of.
No, I don't know. And they clearly need to learn when they do something right and when they do something wrong better, and how to fix things more quickly, because this could have been stopped much longer ago.
Yeah, they shouldn't have just had Justice League set up to where it films right after BVS before figuring out what people liked and what needed to be fixed.
Yeah, they need to pay attention in that regard better. That's all I think they.
So, we'll talk about what do we think they should do next. So, I think DC needs to. Their big thing is they need to focus on the Trinity, and we've seen that DC has 3 characters who have had popular movies, and they should just focus on those 3 for right now. And you can do other characters and less known characters like Marvel, but you need to earn that. So I would say in 2019, do Wonder Woman 2, 2020, The Batman, 2021, Superman, and 2022, Justice League reboot. Do you have a pitch?
I was gonna say nearly the same thing. That I think the thing, because I would like this same Wonder Woman iteration to go forward, and that people already liked it, that's kind of going to be the first one that you should do. You've already got a good thing going, and you'd be able to rebuild this universe very well from that stepping stone. And then it's hard for people to not care about Batman. So a new Batman movie, people are going to be intrigued by. A solo Batman movie, that's people are going to want to see that. And if you do a good job, you could build the reputation back just like that, I think. And I think people don't care about Superman anymore, so I think that's why you got to save that one for later.
I disagree, because I remember once Batman vs. Superman came out, people didn't care about Superman. But that because Batman vs. Superman failed, they brought Superman to Supergirl. And I swear, once that episode aired, it changed. People love people were begging for a spin-off, and the CW constantly gets asked about when they're going to do a Superman spin-off starring Tyler Hoechlin.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that show, so I don't know about the crowd who has that desire.
I mean, if you need to imagine, Supergirl and all these other CW shows are basically the same crew that did Smallville.
Right.
So that Superman is very similar
to
Tom Welling Superman, just he has the suit he flies.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I think that I have the same order, basically, which is that continue Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, focus on those. Not Shazam, Like,
no,
I
no.
mean, really? Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, that's what your plan is? Like,
That's supposed to be the next one they start
clearly,
filming.
like,
which is not... there's no way Shazam is going to be made.
Like, with Marvel, where they can pick out the most insanely obscure characters and make a movie that people like with it, maybe you could pull out a Shazam.
But that would
like,
be... Like,
you'd have to succeed already at the main
Guardians
ones.
was such a risk, but that was, what was it, 2014?
Yeah, I think so.
So that was...
They had already succeeded with
was-
the Avengers. And
When was... Well, 2014 from 2008.
6 years? You're saying it was 6 years after Iron Man.
So they built up after 6
Yeah.
years. Then you can do something like that. Just like how after so many episodes of Arrow and The Flash, you can do like a team-up show called Legends of Tomorrow, characters nobody had cared about, like Firestorm or the Atom, because people were just like, you won them over already.
Yeah, so... Yeah, that's one of the things that makes me clearly go, like... Yeah, you can't... You gotta succeed, and if you fail, try again at the ones people care about to get them excited about the entire DC universe. So, yeah, basically the same kind of thing as you. I don't know exactly how far in the future I'd want that to be. I mean, 20. You said 20. What year did you said? 2020. You should release
2019 Wonder Woman
Okay.
2, because that's the its release date.
Yeah.
2020 should be Batman. 2021 Superman. 2022 Justice League. Basically one a year.
That sounds pretty good. Although I have no idea what a.
Oh my God!
Oh, we both died. So
They're shooting at
that's
us!
that's the end of the podcast. Actually, just my knee died, so that's fine.
They'll walk with a limp from now on.
Yeah, that's the last time I walked. I have to reboot my leg now.
Yes, start from scratch. So, real quick, before we wrap this episode, we'll go through kind of each of the 4 movies that we kind of pitched, but what they should do next. So, obviously, Wonder Woman was the only successful DCEU movie, even though I like 4 out of the 5. It's the only one, and unfortunately, this version of the character is in jeopardy. So Wonder Woman 2 was set for November 1st, 2019, with Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins set to return. Right now, I think it's 50-50. And I still think, as we both said, that we think they should go for Wonder Woman 2.
Yeah.
So, and that they should say that Wonder Woman was the beginning of the DC Cinematic Universe, and Wonder Woman 2, and then what happens next happens.
Yeah.
And, however, this film needs to be done as a test a little bit. It will have an unfortunate test, but it's the way it has to be. If it makes more money than the first film on its opening weekend and total worldwide box office, then have Gal Gadot in the new universe. If not, then you need to reboot Wonder Woman. So I think we pretty much said that. Do you think?
Yeah, I think if Wonder Woman 2 ended up being like, oh, okay, Wonder Woman 1 was a fluke, then they have to reboot Wonder Woman 2. Well, they have to reboot one as well. They have to reboot Wonder Woman as well. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd have the exact same harsh stipulation of it has to make more. Although that's a good indicator, but it has to do very well. It has to be well received.
Yeah,
is basically what I'm thinking.
So right now, it is rumored to take place. Is rumored to be in our time period movie taking place in 1980s. And I think Wonder Woman 2 will follow the Linda Carter TV show, where years later she finds a descendant of Steve Trevor. In the show, it was Steve Trevor Jr. And that's a way to bring back Chris Pine, because Steve Trevor is such an important character to the Wonder Woman franchise. And the next villain I'm guessing, it will be Cheetah. So any kind of ideas about what they could do for Wonder Woman 2?
I don't know much about Wonder Woman, but I was saying like how in Wonder Woman 1, how one thing I yet another CG villain. and it was like basically my least favorite part of that movie. But I understand that's an iconic villain; you have to have it. Having Cheetah, like now that you mention it, kind of grounds it in the way that I have talked about wanting, and that would probably be what I would want. So, 80s sounds like a good choice to do now since we're in that 80s nostalgia period right now. So that's exciting. I didn't know that.
Well, it's rumored.
Oh, rumor. Okay. But still exciting if they do that. I find I understand with Wonder Woman just living through all of time. I understand that this is kind of a way it has to go down, but it is a little weird that like she's gone through 70 years and like, oh, you look just like him. Now I'm gonna be with you.
Well, he'd be like a descendant.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's funny because
kind of like Captain America with
people are going to
Peggy.
Continue getting younger and younger than her for all of eternity.
Yes. Kind of like how the love interest was Peggy, and then you find out that the love interest from the second movie is her niece.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll move on to Batman now.
All right.
Now, for the past few months, basically a year now, we've known that. Never mind. For the past few months, we've known Matt Reeves was going to be the writer and director of the next Batman movie. And it was about a year ago that WB announced that Affleck was no longer going to direct the movie. And look, they even knew back then he was not going to star in the movie. And they were planning on having the film be a reboot from the beginning. And I would say, make sure that unlike Rises, you stay true to who the character is. And unlike Batman vs. Superman, have this be the iconic character first before doing a story of him becoming the character he once was. And I would say, you don't need to do the origin again, since Batman Begins is still pretty recent.
Yeah.
I would say probably what you could do, if I was directing a Batman movie, like the first in a new series, I would maybe start with Bruce looking at a portrait of his parents, and the bat signal lights up, and he goes to the Batcave. That's how you know what motivates him, but it's not like you're seeing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And if you want to have the Batman family, like what the DC Extended Universe wanted to do, you can't just do it. You kind of have to explain it a little more. Like, you can't just simply show a damaged Robin suit and expect the average audience to know what that means. And you should at least show in flashbacks at the beginning of the movie, or another way explain. Although I think flashbacks would be best, or at least, the best would be to show it over a course of a few movies. Dick Grayson as Robin. You probably don't need to do the origin of Robin, since everybody knows Batman and Robin, so you can just have him there and people will already know. And then show him transition into Nightwing, and then bring in Jason Todd and have him killed off.
Yeah.
And even if you do it in a 5-minute little segment at the beginning of the movie, you can't just assume like the DCU did.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about how do you think they should reboot Batman?
All I really want to
fix about what they did last time.
Yeah, all I really want to say, I completely agree with the origin story. Everyone knows the origin story of Batman. I know that's kind of bad to assume, but you don't need to do a lot of stories explain backgrounds of characters without showing it. You can have people understand it without showing it. It's a waste of. So I don't want another origin story.
I mean, I think eventually we should get another origin story, but not until 20 years after Batman Begins.
The only other thing that I really have to say about rebooting Batman is that I want to see probably my second favorite, second or third favorite, probably third favorite Batman villain that I haven't seen in a long time, the Riddler. Because Two-Face and Joker are the other two, but that's what I want to see.
You know, the Riddler's in basically every episode of Gotham.
Oh.
There you go.
Well, that's plenty.
And he is the Riddler now. He's got the green suit and he calls himself the Riddler.
Oh, nice.
So, you saw his whole transition from police forensics into an evil, the Riddler.
Yeah.
So, since you are already So now we'll talk about the villain, because obviously Batman has big villains. So
Yeah.
since you're already starting with people comparing the new Batman, I think they'll want a new movie villain that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And when Ben Affleck was going to direct Batman, we were going to have Deathstroke. But I think, well, I'll ask you this. I personally think they're more likely to save Deathstroke for a Teen Titans movie, since he is their villain and not Batman's.
Yeah.
He was in the origin Batman video games with that. That was basically it. So
Yeah.
no Deathstroke in Batman probably.
They should go with the classic Batman villain.
All right. So
If they're rebooting Batman, you need to have a classic Batman villain.
So Matt Reeves said that the film will focus on Detective Batman. So I'll say I have 3 possible new Batman villains that we haven't seen before that I think are possible, since we're doing like a mystery story. One is Clayface. Now, Clayface is kind of like a long shot. I don't know if you can immediately do that to the audience, because Clayface is a more sci-fi villain where he had an accident to where now he is clay and he can change his look into being whatever he wants. So I don't know if audiences are ready to accept that. Maybe in like a 3rd movie or something, but I think you might have to wait a little bit. Another would be Hush. Hush is a recent villain from like 2005, where he's this guy who has like a completely bandaged face, and the mystery is that he has a very personal connection to Bruce Wayne. And another is a very recent thing from 2011 comics called the Court of Owls, and it's a secret group that has been watching over Gotham since the 19th century. So, what are your thoughts on having one of those 3 being the villain? And what do you think?
Do I think it should be?
And who do you think? 3. What do you think of those 3? And then who do you think it could or should be of any villain?
I'm wary about the was it Clayface? Because it could fall into the CG.
Although
you could do it practically in some way, but
originally, this is very different from the current comics. Originally, Clayface was just his name, like he would like disguise himself. But now he's mostly known as being a clay guy.
A lot of Batman villains are very creepy, so I like the sound of the second one a lot because of that. And I knew Court of Owls existed, that does sound very interesting to me as well. I don't know about any of these 3 that you just mentioned, so it's hard for me to say. But in terms of character design, the second one intrigues me the most. But story-wise, I like the sound of that 3rd one. Now, another one in terms of a villain I want to see, with keeping it to another more character-y villain that I would want to see, would be Penguin.
Oh, I feel like Penguin should have the role that Falcone had in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't... I would love for him to have like a main villain for one movie, but you could have him like appear in like a trilogy of movies where like 2 of them he has like a Falcone role from Batman Begins.
Yeah, I definitely could see Penguin being in multiple like that, but that's one
Penguin's also in almost every episode of Gotham.
Really? I wonder if that would. Do you think that what's happening in Gotham would affect choices in these at all? Okay, because I was like, I hope that because they're using them so much, and that means that they wouldn't use them.
I think the reason they're using those 2 so much is because those were the 2 you didn't get in the Nolan movies.
I want Riddler and Penguin in movies.
They team up in the Gotham.
Yeah.
So
I want that.
So what do you think would be better to do for this first reboot Batman? Should it be a new villain or a classic villain?
I think you go classic villain with the first one, and then you go one of the more obscure ones with the next one.
Okay. And also, for this Batman trilogy, because I feel like, I'd like to think they'll go the Star Wars route. In which movie of the trilogy should the Joker appear? I'm gonna say third. Let's build up to him.
Build up to, because I mean, I think that is the choice. Classic to bring people back into it, and then you go a more obscure one. I think when you do one obscure one like that, you make it a classic villain. Like, you got to try and, if they were making that middle movie, and they were like, we eased you back into Batman by like having a Penguin movie or something like that, and then the second one they use like the bandage guy or whatever. Then it's like, we're gonna make this a classic villain.
Yeah.
And then you round it back out with the villain you
the
need
big one
in Batman.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the character who I feel has been the most damaged by the DCEU, the Man of Steel himself, Superman. So, however, it is the most damaged, but we've seen so many times where like a franchise has been damaged, but yet it can come back stronger and better than ever. And I feel like it will be one great movie and you'll have the audience back with Superman. And I honestly believe if you reboot Superman and make a new version for the 21st century, it will be one of the most popular superhero franchises. And Matthew Vaughn has been in talks about directing a Man of Steel sequel, and I think he should direct the Superman reboot. He said in an interview that Superman symbolizes optimism and hope, and I believe that's the right way to do it. So, before going in, hearing what he says, Matthew Vaughn, yay or nay on having him direct Superman? All right. All right. Here's something that some people are going to disagree with me. I don't care. I've already made enough people angry.
Care.
Yes.
We clearly do not care about that.
Remind people how much you love The Last Jedi.
I think it's in my top 4 Star Wars movies, so
all right.
That's what I have to say about that.
I wanted to balance. Once I say what I have to say, it's going to balance out with the hatred.
Okay.
I think to introduce the new Superman, I think it's best to do the origin story again. And it's the best way to introduce a new version of the character, because what you got that I think that you should approach Superman is, this is an alien with strange powers who grew up not knowing who he's supposed to be, and the movie could show him going to Metropolis and as Superman finally discovering who he is, who he's supposed to be, and at the same time bringing back hope to a city that has lost it. And some people will say that The Amazing Spider-Man was hurt by doing the origin story 10 years after Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And it would hurt this Superman origin story by doing it, when did I say it was? 2021, so 8 years after Man of Steel. But there's one key difference. People like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie. Most people don't like Man of Steel. So,
it's a full reboot is what they need to do.
Yes.
Just like we're starting from scratch with Superman. That's what I want.
What do you think? How do you think they should redo Superman? And do you think that, unlike Batman or Wonder Woman, should they do the origin story again?
Yeah, I basically what I'm building off of what I just said, which is I think they basically just plummeted. Like, what Superman was dead in the dirt in Justice League, and in our reality, he has not been Pet Cemeteried. He's dead.
But we liked the Justice League version, but no one saw the Justice League version.
Yeah,
so
he ceases to exist. He is dead. So
in movies,
TV. So they need to start from scratch. Like I think they need to reboot and restart the story.
Yes, and for the villain, I could see them using Lex Luthor again, except compared to previous version, this will be the billionaire instead of the guy trying to get real estate. And what they could do is they could show him creating a supervillain at the end for Superman to fight, such as Metallo, who is like a half man, half robot who has like a kryptonite heart.
Yeah.
Or Parasite, who is like this purple monster who can like absorb Superman's powers. And you can have like Lex kind of pulling like a Green Goblin about. Wait, that wasn't. Or remember how like people were into Spider-Man in the first movie, and then after Daily Bugle, like, people kind of changed.
Yeah.
They could have it where Lex is the one who kind of changes people's opinion on Superman, and then he wins them back. And I think what they could do is they could have it be that both Superman and Clark Kent with his reporting, because I think Clark Kent is so essential for rebooting Superman, because some people are just like, he's so powerful, I can't. You're not supposed to relate to Superman. Clark Kent is the one you're supposed to relate to, and then he'll become Superman to fight the bad guy. And Superman is when he kind of feels like he's allowed to be himself.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about kind of a villain for Superman?
Yeah. Well, since I don't know much at all about Superman villains and stuff, I would kind of say that I, based on what you said, an idea that I think would sound good would be the first one, maybe not Lex Luthor. And everyone likes Superman, and everything's all friendly and fun. The second one maybe is Lex Luthor, and he makes people not like him, right? Like, as you said. And then it's building up for, like you said, maybe, so the third one is something else. It should be obvious that the only Superman villain I'm aware of is Lex Luthor. So,
all right, so, and now we get to our Justice League reboot. We're starting over.
all right.
So, I will say, because I think they should, because we've only had one other Justice League movie, I think they should probably maybe show how they formed together in like the opening credits, and then
that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. That I feel like I've seen so much like, there's Justice League. It's gonna happen, and then even in Justice League, it isn't. They just found a place at the very end.
Yeah.
So it would be a lot nicer to have not a movie as an origin story, but like a, like example, Spider-Man with first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man origin story so the beginning is a quick like they're a team now, like, so. They need to get through that quicker so they can be the Justice League, proper Justice League.
All right, so I think the lineup for the Justice League should be Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and introduce Green Arrow as your new member. So, do you have a lineup for the Justice League that you would like to see?
I basically like that exact lineup. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen Supergirl, the TV show, but based on the game Injustice 2, Supergirl was done fantastically in that, and that makes me want her in it.
I feel like maybe she'd work better in the Teen Titans.
That's true. Another thing that was interesting about that game that I made me curious if there was like it's something done in any other DC, and I was wondering like how it fit in, was the fact that Harley Quinn was a part of the, like, she was kind of, I think she officially kind of was invited to the Justice League by the end.
I know she's part of the Suicide Squad, but
I feel like by the end they implied that they might let her into the Justice League, which was kind of I'd have to see it again. It's been a while, but that isn't an answer of who I'd want in my reboot. It was just kind of like, what is that from? Is that from a comic or something? But
I've never heard that.
You said Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern. That's definitely who I want. I'm trying to decide if I would want Cyborg again, but I feel like, they're rebooting it.
I feel like bring Cyborg to the Teen Titans this time.
Yeah. Green Arrow is good. But yeah, that's what you said, so.
Yes or no to Aquaman?
Oh, yeah, Aquaman. Forgot to mention.
All right, so they were clearly setting up Legion of Doom to be the villain in Justice League 2, which is never gonna happen. So Batman 5 was gonna have Scarecrow. Batman Begins had Scarecrow. Spider-Man 4 was gonna have the Lizard, and The Amazing Spider-Man had the Lizard. I think let's keep that going. Let's bring, for a Justice League reboot, let's bring their biggest, most iconic villain from the Super Friends, the Legion of Doom. And let's have like Lex Luthor, let's have Joker and Cheetah, Captain Cold, Black Manta, Merlin, Deathstroke.
Absolutely. Like I said, I don't know about Justice League villains, so, but, do you think? What about Darkseid? Do you think that is that one?
Darkseid is you mean for like the Legion of Doom?
Oh, he's in the Legion.
No.
Okay. Well, I
feel like that's too similar to what we had in the last movie.
That's what I was basically asking. Why not that?
I'd say probably save Darkseid for the third movie, which obviously this is Justice League 1.
Yeah.
So
you're saying the Legion of Doom would be the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I can agree to that because I'll be agreeable.
All right. So now, final thoughts on Justice League. Now, despite how the movie is a box office failure and has split the audience, I love the movie because I'm not saying that if you don't like the movie, you're not a DC fan. It's just every movie hits a person in a different way. Mm-hmm. For me, I loved seeing the characters on screen together. I felt like it was just like what I read in the comics or saw in the cartoon. And I thought it fixed kind of some of my issues of the previous movie, Batman vs. Superman, which I liked, where not saving the action until the end and then doing a better job of crossing over the characters. Although, I will say, till the end of time, the TV stuff is better. But I still really like the movie, and I feel like DC needs to reboot. Like, some DCU fans will be unhappy about that, but there's not a lot of them. So you really need to listen to them. Plus, they got a whole trilogy. That's the thing. You got a whole trilogy of this Zack Snyder universe. Obviously, the third one, you kind of want your Zack Snyder cut. And I'll be honest, I'd like to see a Zack Snyder cut, but it doesn't exist. So,
yep.
I don't know if you want to release just the rough cut with no special effects. So, it basically comes down to we get reboot DC films or no DC films. And if we have no DC films and just Marvel, because now it is just Marvel Studios, then eventually it means no superhero movies. So, you can have some, or you can have none. So, final thoughts on Justice League as we wrap up this epically long.
Yeah,
we're longer than the actual movie.
Incredible. Will there be a Zack Snyder cut of this?
Yes, there will be.
All right.
It will be brilliant.
My thoughts on Justice League. I thought it was it was an enjoyable movie to me. I came out of it fully feeling I feel positive about it. That's it. It's but it is a flawed movie where there's clear flaws that I could notice that almost like the production was just it was sad that all that had to happen. There could have been more time and less. Not like.
Oh, when you say more time, you mean like.
Well, I mean like.
Do we want to bring up a controversial topic?
I don't know exactly.
Well, okay. Remember that. No matter what, I'll talk about it. But define what you mean by more time.
Like, they didn't have the money for there to be more time. They had already spent too much. But I mean, like, to figure out if they were, like, I guess more in the post-production. Like, it just seemed like some parts weren't edited correctly. It seemed like some things need to be analyzed more to see if they needed like establishing shots or just thinking over the way everything was presented. I guess there are just things that seem they could be done better. I don't know if I mean more time, but more analysis to make sure that what they were doing was really the way they wanted it to be portrayed. But really the biggest issues I found were in the plot choices and editing and some script choices. But I guess what I was saying was that a lot of that comes down to the fact that it had to be handed over to a different director, and so there was just kind of a mess in the production and reshoots and stuff. Like, it's, you know.
Yeah, so we'll talk about such a very, why not end this with a controversial topic? So there was that report that came out that talked about what should happen with, kind of how the DC Cinematic Universe failed. I mean, DC Extended Universe.
Well, I can add in a little more of my final thoughts of Justice League, which is just that overall the problem I saw with it didn't make it a negative experience for me, because it was an enjoyable movie. I thought the comedy worked. I like that it was a more positive and a different tone than the previous DC films. And I think because of that, it is my next favorite DC film after Wonder Woman. Oh, sorry, since Man of Steel. Not counting anything before that. So...
Okay, I can't find it, but I remember what it said. Okay, so when Joss Whedon was doing the reshoots, there was a little bit of concern about, do they have enough time?
Yeah.
So there was some talk about delaying Justice League until 2018. And apparently the biggest factor of why they decided to go forward with its release date was because if it didn't hit its release date in 2017, the Warner Brothers CEO, Kevin Tsujihara, would not have gotten his bonus check.
So you'd get a bonus check?
It's just something about the AT&T Time Warner merger, where it had to come out in 2017 before the merger so that he gets bonus check. But if it came out this year, he wouldn't have gotten his, I think it's $10 million, or I'd say 10,000, but that doesn't sound enough for 7. So it's 10. I think it was a $10 million. So if it came out in 2018, if they delayed the movie, he wouldn't have gotten his bonus check, and that's why they kept the release date.
Assuming that's true, because I have no way of knowing.
I mean, but, it's being reported. Is unconfirmed. It's just it's a report from that is talked to anonymous sources from Warner Brothers.
Assuming that's true, that goes into kind of what I was saying, which is that it seems like the problems could have been fixed if they just, they could have gone, like, it would have been obvious, like, well, that doesn't work, we should fix that. Of course, that would mean, like, possibly more reshoots.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it
becoming the second most.
But I think a lot
movie.
of it could have been fixed with more time, like possibly editing, for example, So that would take it would take more money, but it would take only slightly more money than reshoots. So I think it could have used delay.
Yeah. So there it is. We have talked about Justice League and the death of the DC Extended Universe.
Mm-hmm.
What a ride it's been.
Absolutely.
It's only been we still have one more.
Yep. Maybe we'll get back on the track of having normal length comment section episodes.
Guys, this These were specials we've been wanting to do for a while.
Yeah.
We were supposed to do them last time, and guess what happened? Disney bought Fox.
Yeah, we had to talk about that.
So, yes, we've been planning for it, and then...
They're finally happening.
Did Disney buy Fox just so we wouldn't do the Spider-Man Homecoming review?
It's a conspiracy.
Yes, just like how we both like Justice League. Of course Disney paid us.
Absolutely. You can't possibly...
of course Warner Brothers paid us.
You can't... Oh. You're trying to hide the fact that we actually did get paid by Warner Brothers by confusing them. But yeah, it's not possible to like something without being paid.
Of course.
So,
especially if other people don't agree with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the checks are really nice. They got the WB shield, and then you flip them over and you see Bugs Bunny like high-fiving Batman. It is awesome.
Yep. It's amazing.
So, yeah.
Well, again, we stayed on topic.
We did. And you know what? I'm looking forward to the next time when we can just go off topic and whatever. Maybe we should do a little tease about kind of what I've been thinking. And maybe kind of explain to you what I've been thinking.
Especially if you made it this far. Because...
Good for you guys. We will get you a prize. No, we won't. But I think next comment section... I think maybe we might... I don't know. Whenever the next comment section happens. Because we might go back to answering questions.
Unwantedly.
Yes. I think we'll probably do a Star Wars Last Jedi.
Yes, another one of these special episodes. Well, we might talk about it. We might talk about it within a comment section episode, or maybe its own episode.
I did have an idea. Because when I did my notes, Justice League was 7 pages, Spider-Man Homecoming was 6, Star Wars was 1.5.
Yeah.
So I don't have a ton to say, but I'm assuming we can at least get, because I'm assuming you have a lot to say. Because you really love this movie.
Yeah, for sure. I have a spoiler for those who made it this far and aren't going to make it to the next episode. I loved it. I loved The Last Jedi, and of course I was paid. No.
Of course, Disney. I mean, you thought that
Disney checks are even better.
Oh my god, they are shaped checks. Like the mouse head.
Yeah, and the thing that's great is when you turn in the check, it just automatically goes. Ho-ho!
Yes. Yeah. And then all your dreams.
And then you feel even better for
when you open the envelope, like fireworks come up, and you hear the "When You Wish Upon a Star" song.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a podcast where I give The Last Jedi an incredible review.
Yes. But he died inside. I remember we came to film a different episode, and he's just like, oh my god, I can't believe I gotta fake it. I gotta fake it till I can cash that check.
Yeah. It was tough, but I feel better now because of all that money.
So,
but yeah, I mean, the thing is, even if you only have 1.5 pages, think about what that is compared to this. That's still a full episode.
So, yes. I'm assuming you have a lot to say about Star Wars Last Jedi.
I definitely have. I know a ton of points that people bring up about it, and I want to talk about every single one of them. And anything else would be a spoiler for it.
So we had kind of 2 controversial review episodes, and I'm looking forward to our most controversial one yet.
Absolutely.
So I did have an idea, and maybe we can tell the audience, I don't know, but I did have an idea, because I think probably the Star Wars one will probably be 30 or 20 minutes. I did think, what if the same week we release a 30-minute special, we did a special 30-minute unwanted answers focusing on Star Wars questions.
Oh, we should try. Hopefully that can happen.
Hopefully there are some answers, some questions somewhere.
That's a good idea.
But yes, guys, next comment section, we're going to update you on the news. Not a lot of news happened recently, I don't think.
Yeah, that's why we've been talking about movies that are months old.
Yes!
But,
it's over, guys. The episode is done.
We
made it. And you know what? We made such a long. Look at how long this episode is.
I mean, it's kind of nuts, really. How long this episode is.
It's longer than the movie.
Yeah,
That is something that will haunt you forever.
yeah, we made a lot. But in 10 years from now, we'll release the director's cut, which will be somehow even longer.
Yes, it will be like they'll have an extra hour, and some of the stuff we said that you're just like, what will make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming, guys. One
Absolutely.
day, 2028.
And keep falling down
that rabbit
incredibly
hole.
long
Yes.
rabbit
So
hole.
long, you need a parachute.
Keep falling down that rabbit hole.